just... Did I do something wrong? There will be a short commercial break. It's a little bit loud up here. Still a little bit loud up here. I could go down a little further. That'd be very nice, if that's possible. There is a little town called Redcliffs, close to Mildura. And I got this rather extraordinary phone call. That's in northern Victoria, by the way. I got this rather extraordinary phone call from the mayor of this town saying he'd heard some of my songs on the radio and he wanted me to go and write some songs about Redcliffs. I said, I've never even been there. He said, doesn't matter. Come up here and I'll tell you a few stories. In fact, you don't even need to come up. I'll tell you a few stories over the phone. I said, oh, come on. And he said, I said, what is the purpose of this? He said, oh, Redcliffs is celebrating 75 years since the soldier settlers were first settled the land up there. And I said, well, what am I going to write the songs about? So he said, well, all right then, come up here and I'll introduce you to a few people. And I heard a few stories and I wrote all this kind of stuff. But one of the songs that I'm happiest with out of the whole experience there was that I was walking into the newsagent. I was there for 4 days, by the way. And I went into the newsagent one day and there were these two Greek men of about 65 roaring their heads off, laughing their heads off. And when I came out, they were still laughing their heads off. And in the spirit of journalistic enterprise, I went and said, why are you laughing your heads off? And they told me that they were talking about a day in 1950 blah, when they had not been long in Australia, and they had spent the whole day chasing two Italian girls around town, and what a time they'd had. So I wrote a song about it. Me and Joey out in Quandong Park, by the tamarisk trees it was almost dark. The best of friends in the whole wide world. And he said, do you remember those Italian girls? In my memory I found two boys out on a rage, drinking in the bar and we were hiding our age. In the Redcliffs Hotel on Jacaranda Street, those dark-eyed girls, they were looking sweet. Now there might be a million miles from Rome, but this is the place those girls called home. Now there was a gleam from under those curls. He said, do you remember those Italian girls? Two of the prettiest girls in the whole wide world. We were two teenage boys, we'd never kissed a girl. They must be sisters, he said, quick as can be. Hey, you take the short one, the other's for me. Though they might be a million miles from Rome, this is the place those girls called home. Now there was a gleam from under those curls, and he said, do you remember those Italian girls? It was a long walk home through those early morning streets. We hit the town, we should have been hitting the sheets. Staggering home as the day starts to whirl, and dreaming of those Italian girls. Now they might be a million miles from Rome, but this is the place those girls called home. Now there was a gleam from under those curls, and he said, do you remember those Italian girls? Me and Joey were out in Quandong Park, and by the tamarisk trees it was almost dark. The best of friends in the whole wide world, and he said, do you remember those Italian girls? Now they might be a million miles from Rome, but this is the place those girls called home. There was a gleam from under those curls, and he said, do you remember those Italian girls? Italian girls. I live outside Melbourne, and to drive into Melbourne, I have to go down the mountain highway, and one day the car broke down right at the bottom on this major intersection. Major dilemma for me, I wouldn't know one end of a car from the other. Sitting there right in the middle of the crossing, and a very nice man with a mobile phone stopped his car and helped me push the car to the side of the road, rang the RACV, and it was going to be 2.5 hours. And I'm sitting there looking up into heaven, saying, God, if you're so omniscient, how come you let me buy a Holden Camira in the first place? And I saw, hanging down from these 2 electrical wires across the road, a pair of yellow dancing shoes. So I had no choice really. It was either, well, I did have a choice. It was either immediately commit hari-kari at the crossing, which seemed a bit dramatic really, or write a song about the yellow shoes. So on the back of an old envelope I wrote this, and it's called, appropriately enough, Yellow Shoes. Across the mountain highway and around this entire nation, electric wires crisscross the place. They hold us in our station, but up above the highway there, a very neat and pretty pair of yellow shoes hangs out in space, suspended from a wire by a single lace. Now were they left by some high-wire gent on his way around this continent, never setting foot on Earth, hanging in space for all he's worth? Or did Icarus in retreat land above this suburban street, and his fall broken in this way? Did he live to fly another day? Now there's another possibility, and it puts the fear of God in me. I'm a church-raised boy from a country town, both feet firmly on the ground, and I fear it was some angel who had thrown himself from heaven and fell to earth between those silver wires. Now that other possibility, you know, it puts the fear of God in me, and I'm a church-raised boy from a country town, both feet firmly on the ground, and I fear it was some angel who'd thrown himself from heaven and fell to earth between those silver wires. Thank you. I've got a little daughter who's 8, and I was driving her down to netball practice one day, and she was sitting in the back of the car with her friend Amanda, and they're doing that funny little 8-year-old little girly playgroundy, hand jivey, you know the kind of thing I mean? Of course you do. Some of you out there must at least have been 8 at some stage in you. Anyway, on the way back, they're still doing all this, all this kind of funny stuff, you know. And I said, will you give me the words to that? And there's a kind of a secret code in my family. People know if I start asking for words for things, it's liable to be turned into a song. So she said, what do you want them? And I said, I'm going to write a song about it. She said, well, I'll sell you the words. So, 2 bottles of Coke later, cheaper, half the price. Apple on a stick, well it makes me sick and it makes my heart go 2, 4, 6. Not because you're dirty, not because you're clean, just because you kissed the boy behind a magazine. Girls have all the fun, but here comes one with her blue jeans on. She can wibble, she can wobble, she can do the splits. I'll bet you $10 that you can't do this. Charlie Chaplin went to France to teach those ladies how to dance. Heel to toe, toe to toe, and all around the GPO. Girls, girls have all the fun, and here comes one with her blue jeans on. She can wibble, she can wobble, she can do the splits, but I'll bet you $10 that you can't do this. I went to a Chinese restaurant to buy a loaf of bread. I wrapped it up in bubble gum, and this is what I said. My name, it's Elvis Presley. I like that bit. Girls are sexy, sitting in a gum tree, drinking Pepsi all night. Girls, girls have all the fun, and here comes one with her blue jeans on. She can wibble, she can wobble, she can do the splits, but I'll bet you $10 that you can't do this. Apple on a stick, well it makes me sick and it makes my heart go 246. Not because you're dirty, just because you're clean, and because you kissed the boy behind a magazine. Girls, girls have all the fun, and here comes one with her blue jeans on. She can wibble, she can wobble, she can do the splits, but I'll bet you $10 that you can't do this. I'll bet you $10 that you can't do this. I'll bet you $10 that you can't do this. Thanks. Apple on the Stick and others. I'm going to play a little country waltz for you now. It's called The Bride's Return. I wrote this for a friend's wedding. It seemed appropriate 10 years ago to call it The Bride's Return, but exactly where she'd been I can't begin to tell you. Thank you. There's the most extraordinary plastic bag at the door with flashing lights in it. No, it's gone now. Honestly, that was not a hallucination. Now, a hymn, Almost Sunday, a Southern Baptist hymn called Only Remembered. Now, under normal circumstances, when there is a chorus, you've got an option, haven't you, basically? You can either sing or not sing, do you know what I mean? But when it's a God song with a chorus, you haven't got the option. Because basically, if he's not pleased with the chorus singing, great big foot comes through the roof and we're all, you know, that's it. So in other words, you've got no choice. Up and away like the dew in the morning, rising from earth to its home in the sun. Thus would I cease from the earth and its toiling, only remembered for what I have done. Here's the chorus. Only remembered, we're only remembered, we are only remembered for what we have done. Only remembered, we're only remembered, yes, we're only remembered for what we have done. Shall we be missed as others succeed us, reaping the fields we in springtime have sown? Nay, for the sower shall pass from his labour, only remember for what he has done. Remember that foot coming through the roof. Only remembered, we're only remembered, yes, we're only remembered for what we have done. Only remembered, we're only remembered, we are only remembered for what we have done. Only the truth that we on earth here have spoken, only the seeds we in springtime have sown, they shall pass onward while we are forgotten, only remembered for what we have done. Your last go. Only remembered, we're only remembered, we are only remembered for what we have done. Only remembered, we're only remembered, yes, we're only remembered for what we have done. I think he must have done all right in the harmony singing. A couple of reels. There's a fantastic Irish fiddle player called Martin Hayes who liberated a lot of traditional players from the idea that all the tunes have to go diddly, 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 you know. He said, oh yeah, it's 4 in a bar or 3 in a bar, but who says how long the bars have to be? Stretch them out. Do what you like. So I wrote a tune called My Good Friend from the West, and a good friend of mine pointed out to me that it was eminently stretchable in Martin Hayes' sort of style. Thank you very much. The second one was called Mrs. Ferguson's Reel. I lived for a short period of time in a town in South Australia, and I spent 6 months there, and I spent 5 of those months trying to get out of it. For reasons which will become apparent in the words of this song, which, by coincidence, is the title track of my CD, and there are some of them out there. In a town that had better be nameless, oh, but it's not so far away, all gathered round a beer keg one night in early May. There were Burton, Fisher and Martin, and there were Evans and McClune, full and roaring red as the midday sun, but howling at the moon. Saying, sing another song for the old times, Maggie, one to make us cry. Sing another song from the old land, an Irish lullaby. One of them was the principal in that little country school, all neatly picket fenced and painted in accordance with the rules. I asked him in between the songs how it came to pass that although there were black faces in town, you'd never see one in a class. And he said, sing another song for the old times, Maggie, one to make us cry. Sing another song from the old land, an Irish lullaby. Eddie roared out, tell him, Jack, tell him how it is. Why not, said Jack, I'll tell him what we do with Corey kids. We set them cleaning up the yard with a bucket and a broom, and if they come back a second day, we tell them we've no room. Sing another song for God's sake, Maggie, 'cause this one makes me cry. Sing another song from the old land, an Irish lullaby. Maggie must have seen my face. She started another air, I think the one about repairing to the Curragh of Kildare. Now if there is a God around, and if she's all that caring, she could start out in that country town. There's much there needs repairing. And this is a song for these times. It's a song to make you cry. It's about oppression and relocation. It's an Aussie lullaby. 6 months further down the track, and we were 10k down the road. We were leaving town and moving east, uncertain where to go. There, daubed in white on a tin-walled shack, I'm out of here and I won't be back. Underneath in a different hand, white men squatting on black land. And this is a song for these times. It's a song to make you cry. It's about oppression and relocation. It's an Aussie lullaby. In that town that had better be nameless, oh, but it's not so far away, all gathered round a beer keg one night in early May. There were Burton, Fisher and Martin, and there were Evans and McClune, full and roaring red as the midday sun, but howling at the moon. And this is a song for these times. It's a song to make you cry. It's about oppression and relocation. It's an Aussie lullaby. Thank you. Aussie lullaby. 1989, not 1889. 1989. How depressing is that? That principal, still the principal of the same school. Right, last one for the time being. I wrote this song, which is called The Pickers Train, and it's taken on a life of its own. Good old Macca's been playing it on his Sunday morning programme. I had to go on, I didn't have to, I was happy to go on tour with him and sing it to great big audiences all over Victoria. It was the most extraordinary experience before Christmas. The last time I did a fortnight's tour with him through Victoria and a bit of New South Wales, and played with a 10-piece band with a 4-piece brass section doing this song. So it sounds a bit thin here on my own, quite frankly, but it's a nice song. It's about the times up to when dear Geoffrey Kennett came to power in Victoria. When all the trains into country Victoria were stopped by divine Geoffrey decree, and now you can only go to Mildura if you can run or happen to have a decent car, they'll get you that far, or if you have a lot of money in the bank and can afford the airfare. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that up until then, the government used to put on free trains to take the unemployed from the dull queues of Melbourne up to Mildura, and I spent one great evening with my in-laws, who are all grape growers up there, with them talking about all the incredible characters that they'd had working on their blocks. So this song is called The Pickers' Train. Louis, Luigi and Mary Lou, Tom, Dick and Harriet, Dimitri too, standing on a platform in the Melbourne rain, waiting to join that pickers' train. Cuban crisis and the Bay of Pigs, Dimitri's handing out the six. Anything's better than the old dog queue, said Louis to Mary Lou. Hit Mildura in the early morn, 15 nations in the bleary dawn. Sign language in the station yard, striking a deal was not too hard. Year after year the same pickers came, blockies called their family names. Batista, Marotta, how you doing my son? Hands were shaken and a deal was done. Pietro sat me on his knee and he taught me the Italian for 1, 2, 3. His wife was sick, they wouldn't let her go. She and the kids were in Palermo. Pietro taught me to ride a bike. He taught me what true friendship's like. Picking and spending that time with me meant cash to send to his family. Rita lived on the picking trail. She'd follow the harvest around by rail. She could pick faster than any man could. Rick fetched the buckets like a good man should. Who'll forget the day their child was born? Rita was picking next day at dawn. The baby's in a cradle at the end of the row. She'd feed the kid and then on she'd go. Saturday night. The picking's done, it's time for a dance and a bit of fun. Waltzing, kissing, rock and roll, until the drinking took its toll. Back to Melbourne for another year, say goodbye, maybe shed a tear. Arrange to meet the same place again, hey, see you next year on the pickers' train. See you on the pickers' train. See you on the pickers' train. See you on the pickers' train. See you. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Don't forget the CDs out there.